a lot of phenomena in the real world, they are really just a function of time, or can be represented as a function of time. Or take, for example, say you have a car, right, a car being driven, and after a while, that while means time. After driven time of t, the car will have driven for a certain distance, d, for example. So you might say the distance formula could be will be dependent on the time t, as you can see here. And probably another examples would be something like drug. You can take a drug. Sometimes take drug for pain, and once you start taking a drug into your digestive system, get the bloodstream, you will see surge of the drug component perhaps in your bloodstream, and then it starts to decreases after a while. And this is a typical surge function curve. So the amount of the quantity of drug component in your bloodstream will be something like a quantity respectively, dependent on time t. But very often we represent function with the alphabet f. Fx is very common, we see that. And sometimes we use y to make it easier. So the function here, if we say that the function is dependent on time, so we could represent the x by t. So you might be seeing something like t squared plus 2t. So this itself is a function of time. And when we write the f prime, that prime usually to represent df dt or dy dt, depending on what you're doing. So really depending on the independent variable here, t. Be x, or you can use z, and so on. And the dy dt or df dt, it really is the slope of the curve at any point. Say for example you have this curve, looks like this, like this. So you might say then there's this particular point you're interested in right here, and its x coordinate is say x0. So then if you're able to sketch a tangent like this, so this tangent here is really a slope of the point of this particular function given. So let's look at one example to illustrate the idea of function of time. And so here is a problem regarding profit of a small business, where t is time in years from right now. So the word now represents the topic right now. So if we talk about the current annual profit, so we're talking about right now, it's something akin to saying that what's a profit when t is 0, isn't it? So when t is 0, then we are being asked to calculate what's the profit when time is 0. And that will be 118. And because it represents thousands of dollars, it mentions here, so this would be 118,000,000,000, 118,000 is. So when you're being asked to find dp/dt, that's pretty straightforward. So dp/dt is 4t minus 12. Now, what about the units of this function? I mean, it's really a function, dp/dt, after you derive it. So because initially the p, the p in fact is in $1,000, and t is really in years. So this will be in $1,000, $1,000 over a year. Okay, that's the unit of this dp/dt. Then how about the significance of dp/dt? Now, what does it represent really? So it's time to think really simple, because here we know that p really is a profit, and t is really representing time. So we're really talking about this. We represent is the rate of change of profit. So you can actually sort of able to track change of profit at a certain time if you want to. But anyway, generally this is a rate of change of profit with time. And lastly, when will the profit decrease or increase? Now, as this is really a quadratic function, you able to guess that this function is sort of like a smiling curve. It will look something like this, a bit like this, okay? And what you do then is to find the decreasing or increasing part of the function, we'll set to do this, we'll set dpdt equal to 0, and we're able to find t, so we're going to let 4t minus 12 equal to 0, and the outcome is t equals to 3. And so what we're going to do is to draw a sign diagram. The sign diagram of dp/dt. Okay, dp/dt. Here's 3. So what we normally do is check for t. Say we choose a value greater than t, say 4, and we check for that. So 4 times 4. So what we do is substitute into this function and check for its sign. Okay, so this is 4, and this is positive. So here we know to the right of 3 we have a positive value, and if you check, say with 2, you find that this is 4 times 2 minus 12. This is definitely is negative. So to the left of 3 is negative. So therefore the sign diagram says that this is the shape of this thing, and we can say that we rub a bit of this. We can say that between 0, t, and 3, and the profit decreases because it's a negative, decreases, and for 3 greater than 3, the profit increases.